What's up everybody, it's me Jordan, and I'm back with another drawing video. This time I'm drawing Asuna from Sword Art Online, and for once I've actually seen the anime which I'm drawing the character from, so I don't really have any excuses for not knowing anything about the character. It's been a while since I've watched the show, and I've got a really bad memory, so I've kind of forgotten a lot of things, but I thought I'd kind of talk a little bit about the show and kind of my opinions on it, as well as talk a little bit about the art process and that kind of thing as I go. I think the big appeal of Sword Art Online was just kind of the whole setup of the show. It's like a really cool idea which I think a lot of kind of gamers slash nerds like me have kind of thought about before, like imagining what it'd be like being in certain gaming worlds or animes or TV series. I remember talking to one of my mates when we were really young, and we both agreed we wanted to be in Pokemon. Just think about it, you wouldn't have to work anymore, you'd just capture some wild Pokemon, use them to fight other people and steal their money. It would be awesome. And what was that game? There's like a Final Fantasy Tactics I remember playing on the Game Boy Advance, and that kind of had the same kind of story. Like they get dragged into the gaming kind of world, and some of the characters want to stay there, some of the characters want to get back, and it's kind of just like a really interesting dynamic, which I think the show pulled off pretty well. I mean, it definitely had its ups and downs, and a lot of people didn't really like the second half. The first season was pretty much set up in two different story arcs. Most people seem to like the first half more than the second half, and I think that happens quite a bit with anime, and I can kind of understand that. There were some kind of weird scenes, and I think especially if you're like an Asuna fan, it was just a little bit disappointing what they did with her character. It just gets a little bit tiring always seeing the guys trying to rescue the girls in these animes. It just wasn't really necessary because she's kind of like a bit of a badass at the start. I just like it when animes have kind of interesting and unique characters and they don't just fall back on cliche kind of tropes like the whole princess in distress. I wasn't too critical on it though, I still enjoyed it. I thought the series was pretty good and they did a pretty good job. I think there's quite a few anime series that start out really well and they've just got like a really promising story and just interesting stuff's happening, and then they just kind of stumble a little bit and they don't really know how to finish the series off well, and it just kind of falls into like cliche kind of endings. Another series that I watched recently and actually really liked was Log Horizon. It's got the same kind of setup as Sword Art Online, but it kind of approaches different aspects of the whole kind of situation they're in, I guess. So it still feels fresh and different. And I thought it started off really strong and it was looking really, really good. And then it kind of lost a little bit of its steam. And I'm not going to say it was boring at the end. It was still good, but it just wasn't as good as it could have been, I think. But it looks like they're going to do a second season, so that could be worth checking out as well. And I'm actually working on a fan art drawing of a character from that show, so maybe I'll talk a little bit more about Log Horizon in that video. So I'm colouring the bathers now, and I used reference for this drawing, but I decided to change it up a little bit. I changed some of the colours and just coloured it a little bit more my style. I think the reference that I used was a digital art, so it's always a bit different when you colour it traditionally, but it's always kind of cool. I generally use digital art as my reference, so it's kind of interesting to see like how that translates to when you colour it traditional, because both mediums have their own kind of strengths and limitations. So it's always a fun challenge trying to make that work, even though sometimes it's really annoying because you can't erase things like you can in digital art. So if you make a mistake, you're just going to have to find a way to kind of work with it and try and fix it as best you can. And you're actually going to see that coming up now. When I was colouring the hair, I was using this Copic marker, which I'd forgotten at the time, but now that it kind of happened, I remember that this marker seemed to leak a bit of ink. Like, I don't know if it had too much ink in it or something, but it just kind of leaked the ink right as I was stroking with it.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Like this happens, guys, you just kind of need to shake it off and just flip him the bird and then just get on with it. I was pretty annoyed when this happened because it wasn't really my fault. The Copic marker just leaked. I don't know why it did that. I don't know if it was filled with too much ink or something. But sometimes stuff like this just happens. You could spill your water on your drawing, or you could spill your ink and you get splots everywhere. It just happens. You kind of just have to deal with it as best you can and just try and fix it up, really. I was a bit frustrated with this. I didn't really have the right colour Copics that I wanted to use for her hair, so it was a bit of a challenge just trying to get it to the right colour, and I was already angry about my Copic leaking, so I was kind of just rushing it a little bit and it just wasn't working too well. I ended up kind of taking a break from it and just kind of calming down a bit and then going back to it and just kind of slowly working on it. I used my Prismas a lot because, like I said before, I didn't have the right colour Copics that I wanted. So I tried to put in some more brown tones with my Prismas just to kind of darken her hair a little bit. I've ordered a bunch more Copics, so hopefully I'll get them soon and they'll kind of help out with these fan art drawings. I get a bunch of requests from you guys and I avoid some of them just because I don't really have the right colours that I'd need for them. For certain characters that's fine, but some of them have like a really specific type of colour that you need for them, and if you don't have it, it just makes it really difficult to do. I wanted to go in and use quite a few different colours for the shading of the hair, so I used some purples, some blues, and then the yellow, and it just kind of made it look a bit more interesting, and it kind of made it look like there's light shining from the top where it's kind of highlighted in a brighter yellow, and then it's got the darker kind of shadowing of the purples and blues under her arm and the darker kind of areas. I like to do the shadowing first with the different colours like the blues and purples, and then if I still think it needs a little bit more, I'll go in with the black, but I generally do that at the end. So right now I'm going in and doing a little bit of shading with some soft pastel. I'm just shaving it off and then blending it with a tissue because I felt like it wasn't quite blended properly and it just needed to be kind of smoothed out a little bit. So I went ahead and did that. And now I'm going in with the black pencil, and you can see I'm just kind of darkening it a bit more, and it kind of makes the body pop a little bit more from the hair and makes it look a little bit more 3D and gives it a bit more depth. It makes it look a lot more interesting than if I hadn't have gone in with the more extreme shading. I felt like the line work wasn't looking strong enough, so I went and thickened it all up a bit, and it just kind of brings the drawing together more and makes it look a bit more sharp and more defined. That's kind of a technique that I often do, because I find the line work looks good at the time, but then when you go in and put some colour, sometimes it can kind of wash it out a little bit and it just doesn't look very powerful. Depending on what look you want to get, sometimes people like having barely any outline, and that can look really cool. I just felt like my drawing could really benefit from some stronger line work, so I went ahead and did that. I decided to go with a polka dot style background. It just seemed like a really easy way to fix up the ink spill, and I think it covered it up pretty well, like you can't really tell that it's there anymore. It was just the kind of best option because the spill happened like outside of the lines, so I just had to figure out something to do with the background. And I'm too lazy to do anything complicated, so some simple dots in the background works well for me. Now I'm going in and doing my signature white highlights everywhere, just going really crazy with it. So this drawing's almost done. I'm just going to keep adding some highlights and then add a few more highlights to the background as well. So holidays are coming up, I'm pretty excited for that. I'm going to try and make a stack more videos, and I've had quite a few people asking for more creepypasta videos as well. So I might make a couple more of them. I'm just excited to get some time off, focus on some drawing and watch some animes, finally get around to watching Tokyo Ghoul, and maybe check out some other animes as well. There's lots to watch, so I'm pretty excited. But that's about it for this video. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. I'm really close to getting to 10,000 subscribers now, so I'm just really grateful for all the support, and it's been a real blast making these videos. I've tried to mix them up a little bit lately, kind of put a bit of my own humour in them, and just kind of make them a little bit more entertaining for you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoy them, because I really enjoy making them, so if you don't find them funny, that's too bad, I'm still doing it. I'll catch you guys next week in next week's drawing video.